Right. So today what we're going to be doing, right, is going to do questions, and most of the time we will be focusing on questions. And the questions that I'm going to look at is our variance in the past papers. Now, what I want to tell you is you don't have to know about the case study, what took place in the past, right? I just want to showcase what was there and how the examiner approached as well in the answers. So I'm gonna put up the variance, and I just want you to kind of give an answer outline, an answer plan for these, how you're gonna be approaching, right? And after we do a couple of questions, what I will do is then take you through some of the areas, the slides that I have completed for you yesterday, and I have uploaded it onto your Dropbox. I will go through those slides so that it's easier for you. You don't have to go through it once again. Okay, so I'm going to start off with a question. I will share my screen with you. Right, so this is the November 2015 variant. Okay, and I'm going to put up, let us open this and look at what they're asking. Now, if you look at this, the board attended a presentation from a company. They are keen to sign us up as clients for their data center facility services. I have attached their slides to this email for you to review. The board has asked me to consider this proposal from a business point of view. I was thinking of using a value chain analysis and like your help. I'm not looking for any diagrams at this stage. We can worry about that after you have briefed me. There are two things I need you to do. Firstly, pull together a list of items of information that we will have to collate if we are going to apply the value chain analysis, and discuss how we could use this to evaluate C's proposal. Secondly, I need to explain to me the challenges associated with managing the relationship between ABC Solutions and C, and indicate how we could overcome these. Right? So let us see what they have given. They have given reference material. What do we do? Coloco is a facilities management company.
Anju, can you please increase the font?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can you say it now?
One more, please.
Let me show you, do something, right? Let me see if this is better for you. I think this is better, right?
Yes.
Okay, brilliant. Coloco is a facilities management company, often known as co-location provider, servicing third-party IT infrastructure needs. We offer the physical space in which clients can situate their own hardware. We offer all ancillary services, including power, data links, and security. Coloco benefits. Clients can save themselves the inconvenience of managing and maintaining their IT centers. We have several locations permitting hot backups and mirror if required. Staffing. The technical staff maintain and monitor all hardware configuration. Every member of staff has been positively vetted for criminal conviction and has been subject to thorough background check. All staff in IT related to roles are required to be fully trained and qualified to hardware manufacturer standards and to keep up to date through continuing professional development. Our proposal: ABC should relocate its IT equipment to C's premises. C will charge a fixed monthly fee for hosting the equipment and providing all necessary power and data services. This fee will be subject to annual review. C will survey all equipment on installation subject to satisfactory survey. C's fee will cover maintenance. ABC's role. ABC will be responsible for the installation, maintenance of all software and data. It is anticipated the most software maintenance will be conducted remotely, but access to equipment can be arranged at any mutually convenient time. Right? So that is your question, right? And then we have got these as well. I need you let us do this one first, right? This is your first question. The board has asked me to consider the proposal from a business point of view. I was thinking of using the value chain analysis, and I'd like you to help. I'm not looking for any diagrams at this stage. We can worry about that after the briefing. There are two things I need you to do. Firstly, pull together a list of items of information that we will have to collate if we are going to apply the value chain analysis, and discuss how we could use this to evaluate C's proposal. Secondly, I need you to explain to me the challenges associated with managing the relationship between ABC and C, and indicate how we can overcome these. So I'll give you 10 minutes, right, for your answer plan. And if you can start now, and if you want to use your Dropbox, this information is there. It's in variant 1. Okay. Let us share the screen, Puneet. If you can share your screen.
Okay.
Yeah, let us see. Right. Okay. So, what was the question asked?
First, it was asking for items of information that we need to collate to apply to the value chain analysis, and how we could use this to evaluate Coca-Cola proposal.
Okay, let us look at that. So, how did you answer that?
Proposal, I've.
So, they're asking specifically for value chain, right? So, I want to see that.
Yes. Give me 5 minutes.
Because I just want to find out whether you've written about the value chain.
I think let me start first.
Okay, fine. Okay, Ziad, let us share your screen then till Puneet is ready.
Can you
Yes, I can say yes.
Well, to answer the question in one way, like well, this part, for number 1 point, I'm a bit confused, but
Okay,
like
you're
to
breaking
add
up,
that,
Ziad.
Yes. That's all the breaking ups. I bring all the in group what you do.
So what does the value chain ideally bring about?
Well, it's a process flow from
Well, first of all, the main process they will actually come up with the marketing and the sales maybe. Or I feel like.
Sorry, what are they saying?
Actually, I thought about something like I told you that I thought about some other things like.
Shall I tell you what you guys are
retailer-
trying to do? Right? What you guys are trying to
Yes.
do is now, as soon as they put the value chain, as soon as that word is there, you're trying to figure out, okay, what is the value chain? What are the quadrants that's there? What are the things that's there? How can I link it to this one? Right? Am I correct?
yes.
Okay, that's the first thing that you're trying to do, is to see, okay, now they have got inbound logistics, operations, outbound logistics, marketing, sales,
Technology.
right? And their support services, primary services. Now, how on earth am I going to fix this into this answer? Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, now that's the first problem that we need to overcome. Okay, remember they're just mentioned the word value chain, and they're asking, let's go back to the I'm just going back to what they're asking. Right, can you see my screen?
Yeah, this still on screen sharing.
Right.
Okay, I'll let that.
No, 1 second, I'll share my screen. It's okay. Okay, now what are they asking here? Firstly, put together a list of items of information that we will have to collate if we are going to apply the value chain analysis, and discuss how we could use this to evaluate Coloco's proposal. Right? So, list of items. Okay. So then first we will talk about also what will value chain give us first. Right? We have
Process
to
flow.
it enables us to identify value adding activities and non value adding activities, right? And eliminate those non value adding activities, right? And the value chain, it's that process from going from one to the other, right? Is that clear? Right?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's what they're looking for first, right? Let us go back to, let us go to what they're asking. 1 second, let me see if I can do this. Right, now you can see my screen, right?
No one can't.
You can't see? Ah, right, yeah, you can't see it. Hold on. Yeah, you should be able to see now.
Yes.
Right. So there are two things. The value chain, there are two questions they're asking about the value chain and then about the challenges, right? So that is the separation. You need to see what they're asking. That's done. Then we need to know how much Coloco would charge and how they would compare to what we presently spend. So we need to estimate how those costs are likely to change in the future, right? The whole point of value chain is to establish where the value might be added. This is the key, correct? Now, this is this is what we miss. What we're missing, it's good to put this padding in, but now we're saying the whole point of value chain is to establish where value might be added. We need to fully understand where our specific advantages lie, because in a value, why would you separate things in a value chain? right? For any company is to identify how can we differentiate in each point, how can we eliminate non-value adding activities, right? And that will bring that then we can find out, well, is it something that is non-value adding activity that's here, can somebody else do it for us at a much lower cost, right? Because comparing the cost as well, right? So did you guys get that point? Puneet, what about in
Yes.
your answer?
I was just assuming they are looking for value chain and what information we need to share, which link to which department, or entirely different line altogether.
Right, yeah. So, and here they're looking at because the danger would arise if clients started to believe that Coloco would be better than alternative to ABC, right? So anyway, I told you don't read the case study because that's not necessary. I wanted to pick up certain key
Sorry,
things.
Anjali, is the background noise coming from your end?
No, it's not from my end. I think Puneet, can you put it on mute, please? Your mic. Thank you. Then we talk about challenges, right? What would be the challenges? Now, it seems like both are in similar kind of business, right? And it's a case of, well, what do we deliver better than them, right? Now, in this case, you'll have to know about your about that company that they're talking about. But I wanted you to focus more on this value chain, right? For two things I wanted you to do: identify the value chain and the challenges, and identify, yes, we've got two questions here. And the first thing is, in value chain, how would you approach, right? Let's talk about our case study, right? Where can we apply the value chain in our case study? Tell me how the value chain can help us to go to that next level in what we are doing. Ziad, any proposals?
Considering this Cocolo generator, well, I actually the thing is, Anju, the 15 go for something else. That's why I couldn't get the whole gist of that. So just figuring out. That's why I missed the whole thing. This scenario, we have to answer one question,
Yeah.
which we can relate with IC optical.
Now,
Right.
so the next one, what I'm
Considering
going to
that,
do,
okay,
yeah. So the next one, what I will very specifically state what you need to do, right? Like in this case,
Exactly.
I'm looking at specifics like value. How many questions are there? So the next one we go through, I want you to identify how many questions are there, and certain things I will pinpoint and ask you what are them, right? What are the, in these questions, please answer this section. Let's go to the next question. Now, CEO is asking you to do something, right? What he's asking you to do, one second, I'm gonna increase the size of this. We have been considering switching to an externally managed data processing facility. There are essentially two alternatives open to us. Cocoloco would require us to relocate to our existing hardware to their location and would ask us to pay them to accommodate it and ensure that it's available to us online. Cloud would ask us to pay them to run the software on their hardware. We met with Director of Finance and asked him to explain financial implications to us, but he made it also very complicated. I have left an extract from the minutes of this meeting on your desk. I need you to prepare a briefing paper that will help us to clarify the financial implications. Firstly, the board requires a discussion of the cost issues arising here. What are the difficulties associated with identifying and comparing the cost associated with two contracts? As part of that, please write a sentence or two about the cost implications of scrapping our hardware in the event that we take up cloud offer. Secondly, the board is concerned that under IFRS, these arrangements may have to be accounted for as lease. If so, we are concerned that we will have to report a liability in our financial statements. What is your opinion on that? Okay. Extracts from minutes of meeting with finance director. The approach made by Coco Loco was discussed in some detail. Bruno, the director of operations, tabled a counter proposal that we should consider a move to cloud, a company that offers full cloud-based services to its clients. Under the arrangements that would be offered by cloud, ABC's software would run on cloud servers. Cloud would store our data securely. We would access the data and maintain it in exactly the same way, but we would not own the hardware. It was argued that Coco Loco proposal was superior because it would enable us to continue to use the hardware that is presently located in our data center. The equipment is less than 2 years old and is expected to operate reliably for at least another 8 to 10 years. It would have very little value if sold in the used equipment market. The monthly fee to be charged by cloud would be 5% higher than those charged by Coloco. Cloud would seek a 5-year contract with fees fixed for that period. Okay, so let us start that and tell me how many questions are there in this one? How many questions are there?
A 3 to 4 maybe.
What are 3 to 4? Let's say the first one. What's the first one?
The financial implications of well, if we go for these services, what would be the financial implication?
Okay. And
Secondly, we should be considering Cocoa or the client or the cloud services.
okay.
And why? Thirdly, is it okay?
You know what? Can you guys take 5 minutes and write down the questions that's asked? Because that's another key here. Just write down what are the questions so open up this question, right? And please find out how many questions are there in this one. Okay. Five minutes, please.
Shall I read out the questions?
Yes, please.
The first question is whether we should be considering Cocoa or cloud services
Yes.
and the financial implications to it.
Mm-hmm.
Cost issue arises. Okay, that's the same. Is it okay to relocate our hardwares?
Mm-hmm.
Is it okay to scrap our hardware?
Mm-hmm.
So because we can still use it for another 6 years.
Yes.
This is what I've read so far.
Okay. What about That was Ziad, right? What about Puneet?
Yes.
No, that was me.
No, that's well. I have thought about the how the contract cost can be evaluated and how to write off the cost of the hardware. What would be the optimum way of that?
So, how
And
many
the
questions did you
financing.
see here? How many questions did you see?
I figured out actually 2 hours still going because the questions looked a bit dry to me to understand the whole process actually.
Right. You see, it's a bit difficult, right? When I'm like pushing you guys
Yeah.
to look into it. Yeah. This is where the exam gets very tricky. Yeah. So, let us say what. Let us not give you guys a hard time. Right. So now they're asking, firstly, the board requires discussion of the cost issues arising here. What are the difficulties associated with identifying, comparing the costs associated with two contracts? So firstly, I'm looking at comparing these contracts, right? Secondly, the board is concerned about that under IFRS, these arrangements may have to be accounted for as leases. If so, we are concerned that we will have to report a liability in our financial statements. Okay, a liability in our financial statements. What is your opinion on that matter? So, actually, two main questions, right? Two main questions that they're asking. Now, if I go look at this is the C versus K, and under that, this is a contract, right? Both contracts would require long-term commit. Then they go into the contract, the difficulties, right? Long-term contract, right? Either contract would prove more costly than we expect, right? Because there's staff redundancies, right? We need to introduce our own monitoring procedures, right? We should review the cost of our existing hardware as sunk cost, right? If it is more cost effective to scrap it rather than keep on using it, then we should not be concerned that it had originally been expensive, right? So we should forget about how much it costed us originally, right? If it's more cost effective to run it, in the proposed manner, right? So because otherwise we are looking at sunk cost. Okay, so what do you guys have to talk about sunk cost here?
Our case or
No, in this case, in general, sunk cost. Look at this. What they're saying is, okay, I had servers. I have a proposal now from another party saying, you get rid of your servers, lease our servers that we've got, right, and run your operations.
well, sunk costs are actually those costs which we cannot incorporate in our NPV calculations because these costs are already incurred in order to evaluate the project. Incorporating that as the cost rather than investment, I feel like the cost that already incurred that we cannot incorporate in our valuation, those are the sunk costs. Like
Right.
If we give some marketing agency to evaluate which project we should go, cost is sunk cost.
Okay, anything now I'm going to change it to our case study, right? Because there are we have got some competitors in our mix where they really don't have the heavy equipment that we have. Okay, they run it as online, basically, and with the knowledge that they got good knowledge, and they run an online e-commerce operation. So if we have been approached by one of those companies and asked, right, let us run this, you can use my platform, right, but let us merge together. What are the consequences that you see? How would you look at your sunk cost then? Because we have got some very expensive equipment. How would you look at that?
Well, ideally, because a huge investment in every machine. Are you referring to machine part, or are you referring to the technology? I believe you're referring to the machine part, right?
Yeah, I'm
What we have
referring to,
invested in
I'm
existing
looking at
machines.
IC Opticals now. I'm looking at IC Opticals, similar scenario where I'm given an opportunity to actually look at getting rid of our machinery. Yeah.
Getting rid of machinery, but then how do we process the glasses then?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, that they are looking at partnering with somebody, right? And going really onto e-commerce site. The partner has a very sophisticated e-commerce site, and they're looking at maybe reducing quite a bit of machinery in this case. Would you go for this? How would you evaluate it?
Sorry, I'm slightly confused. Are we referring to replace our existing technology, or are we referring to replace our machines which are used to manufacture the glasses?
So are we in manufacturing of glasses?
Sorry, not the
I
glasses,
don't think
the
so.
assembling of glasses.
We are in assembling of glasses, right? What else are we into? We have 700 stores with quite expensive equipment, right?
Yes, eye
Yes.
testing equipment.
Right. So if you are told, right, to move away from that eye testing, we got the opportunity to partner with somebody who's got very sophisticated e-commerce, which we do not have currently. How would you look at that proposal?
I would rather think uh, as we have the capability of delivering quality goods.
Mm-hmm.
So the only things that we are a bit behind is using the technology and reaping the full potential of the market.
Mm-hmm.
People are getting even busier, so they would like to go for more convenience.
Right.
So if they are actually asking for convenience, and if we are willing to pay for convenience, why should we provide that?
How would you provide that?
We'll partner with that e-commerce company,
Mm-hmm.
and we will evaluate that. Actually, it takes a lot SFA, like the suitability, feasibility, and the accountability will come up. Whether it's I will go in that way first,
Mm-hmm.
then about how much value the e-commerce will add to the company, or in what way we can add, we can incorporate that e-commerce so that we can reap the best profit.
Mm-hmm.
And if our project evaluation, because it will change, there are a lot of incremental cost will come up, because as we will increase our sales from retailing, online retailing, it will clearly affect our retailers as well. So what will be the incremental benefit?
Okay. Okay.
Things will come up, and the opportunity cost of not using it will also come up.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Can we use this as an alternative business or service along with what we already have?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because
It
then
will be all.
giving options to our customers.
I think it will be an op.
Sorry.
Well, Puneet, I think it's an augmented services that we are providing, but it will definitely it's a separate business. But
So what I kind of challenged you guys is to think about the sunk cost, how it would how would you think of in a situation where you will get into sunk cost,
combined.
and looking at you shouldn't look at, okay, it at that point in time 3 years ago it costed us $1 million, but however, what they're saying is your shareholders are not going to be happy with you, right? But from a purely evaluation point of view, you shouldn't be looking at a sunk cost that took place some time ago, right? That's the whole crux of the matter in this paragraph. Now, when it comes to leases,
Well, Anju, when we are actually evaluating a project like with e-commerce or not, the things that we are going to use to figure out whether we should use the e-commerce, it will be the sunk cost, right?
what do you mean? I didn't get you.
I'm I mean that, for example, that whether we should go for e-commerce.
Yes.
So we actually trying to get some market potential. We give work to some marketing agencies to give us feedback over what about the
You mean to say, sorry,
customers.
what you mean to say is evaluation, the evaluation of the project.
Yes.
Yes? Right. Yeah, that's a
Yes.
different story
Yes.
altogether, right? I mean, that's evaluating a project, but it's in this case, what's happened is they're looking at something that they have invested before, right? And to compare that with the running cost,
Okay.
right? That's what's happening here. That we should view the cost of our existing hardware as sunk cost. That's what it's saying. It is more cost effective to scrap it rather than keep on using it. Then we should not be concerned that it had originally been expensive. Right? So what they're saying is, say for example, I'll give you another example. You bought a car, right? A very expensive car 5 years ago for $1 million. Right? And the operation and running cost is so expensive, right? And 3 years later you're looking at it and saying, oh, it's very expensive for me to run this car. Now when you're looking at opportunity, looking at options, you need not look at your sunk cost. Yeah, that's what they're saying. You should not look at your sunk cost. You should see what are the two options I've got. And one is my operations. What is my operational cost, running cost of one, and what is the running cost of the other one?
Exactly. That's the thing I was referring. Sunk cost shouldn't come in project evaluation.
Correct.
Except this Coca-Cola or the other one, sunk cost is the expenditure. If that's the sunk cost, we shouldn't.
But one thing you should mention here, which is quite important, it's saying, however, you need to persuade your shareholders, right, that what you had invested before was not all that great, because they will think that you're bad stewards, correct? because you have invested in something and now you're not very happy about it after a few years. But if it has got depreciated, then you don't have to worry about it too much. But if it's like after 2 years, you're saying, oh well, that investment you made on this particular item is of no use, but you need to convince and communicate this to your shareholders. Okay, is that clear?
I got it. But in that case, what would be our approach to if we have to holders? What should be the optimum way of?
So as you can see, they are not giving you don't have to give an answer, an exact this is the way that you should go. The question that they're asking, the board requires a discussion of cost issues arising here. What are the difficulties associated with identifying and comparing costs associated with the two contracts? Right? What are the difficulties associated with identifying and comparing costs associated with the two contracts? Right? And they're also mentioning, as part of it, please write a sentence or two about cost implications of scrapping our hardware. So that's the reason why they have got a paragraph on that. Yeah, they've written a paragraph, the last paragraph on that. But the difficulties of the contracts are stated in three points here. 1 point about the long-term commitment. Second one is about the redundancies, right? Because it's not straightforward cost comparison. There's redundancies that you need to consider as well, right? We may have to introduce our new monitoring. So we, again, on top of the things, there will be a lot of monitoring activities that we will need to perform as well, right? So it is not as easy as people think. It's just not switch off something and switch on in another area and you're going to achieve this magical state of outsourcing everything onto the other party, right? Is that clear?
Anju, can you give any other example where we need to basically scrap or a particular let's say machinery altogether in order to introduce, like where we don't have any option but we have to do it?
Okay. Right.
Anju, one thing also, like if we like following Puneet's like already, suppose in 1 year before we have already invested for the new machine, but for new retail store, but this year some of our competitors are up with the retailer and they are actually becoming successful. So the original retailers become sunk cost, and how to convince the shareholders in this answer.
Right. So what you're asking me is you've invested in something, correct? You invested in a retail shop. Is that what you're saying? Because you're not clear.
Yeah.
Right. And after a couple of years, you realize this is not right. Okay. You need to you need to get out of these shops. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Right. So it's now I'm going to look at, okay, I have spent and you're looking at it from a how to communicate it to your shareholder, right? Now I will look at it from my I'm looking at Mandela's matrix. Who are the people who will be impacted by this, and in the sense who are very interested in this, right? And clearly it will be the shareholders as well as who else? My employees, right? Who is in that retail shop? Because I don't know what you're planning on doing. Maybe you want to go online or you want to do something or the other, right? I'm not sure. So let's say you want to go online, so you thought this retail shop is not right, it's the bad decision that you made. Okay, so but then you could now come to the shareholders and basically state, right, now you have made that investment was done 2 years ago, and as a result of this investment, there was awareness created within the community, and we served so many people in the community. Now I'm going into what angle? Corporate social responsibility. It's a pure game of communication, right? It's how you communicate to your stakeholders. Now I'm saying I created awareness, I created this, I did all these good activities, I had clinics, I had a lot of community activities, right? We got to know the community, all these good things we say. However, you have analyzed and looked at and seen that it's not suitable for you commercially, right? It's not making the returns that you were expecting. Yeah. So, but you're seeing another opportunity, which is in the online side, because that will give you more scope to expand, right? And that's where you think that you have to be going. And you see, this is the change in environment. This happens, right? We need to embrace change. Our environmental dynamics changed. 2-3 years ago it was different. Now it has changed, right? What has made that change? Maybe a new we have got new community centers that have come up a bit far away, right? And we are thinking of opening like kind of pop-up shops and creating awareness among those communities, having kind of, and then actually building our online profile, because we are able to distribute, we are able to communicate with a lot of people online, right? Rather than having these very expensive premises that we've got. Yeah. Then we look at now how many people are impacted by this. Maybe 50 people, maybe 100 people. So what are we going to use these people for? Now then you can say, well, these people are trained, are very well in the customer services, everything. So it's great for us to have them, because we have to use them in our online as well, because we need people to work with us in our online stores, right? Things don't happen magically. Again, there you need to respond to customers. There's a lot of community stuff there's a lot of communication stuff that you need to do. So it needs to be done by people, and our staff, which is 100 people, can definitely, we will upskill them, train them on the technology side, and we can use them, right? So it is a piece of communication. It's how you communicate your shareholders convincingly that will show them that, well, it's fine, because at that particular time you did the investment thinking that is the best thing that you could have done, right? But now things have changed. But even the investment you made, there were some certain non-financial returns that you have made. So you're not only looking at the financial returns. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Excellent.
You had to come up with a story. You had to become a storyteller, that's all.
Yeah, exactly. Even that's the difficult part. Well, when you actually explaining us, I feel like, oh, that's the only way we should. But when we have encountered the question in the 30 minutes, things actually not coming so easily,
Yeah.
so smoothly.
Yeah. So that's why I said, as soon as you look at the question, don't get scared, and as soon as you get scared and worried and anxious, you don't become creative. Right? You do not become creative. It's all too tight, you close up. You need to relax, and then you'll be able to answer. Now let's look at another question. 1 second.
Well, Anju, another thing, like,
Uh-huh.
is it fine that we say sorry to our shareholders in some cases, like, for this kind of investment, maybe we couldn't couldn't provide that financial returns,
Yeah.
but
So
in
look at, I
non-financial.
mean, try to do your best not to say that you have done a bad decision, right?
Okay.
Because um, you can come up with a lot of non financial positives. So don't look at only the financials.
Okay, so we shouldn't bring anything those in that investment was not perfect. We don't need to state that in anyhow. We can just roam around the non-financial stuffs and conclude that what are the future
Yeah,
prospect
certainly the
of the
examiner
new.
himself will believe you, you know.
Okay, okay.
Yes, you can also talk about new specs. They started 5 years back,
Yes.
and that time the market itself was not into a lot of franchises and online stores. So this is where the industry is heading in the future. So
Mm-hmm.
we are just adopting and improving our existing systems.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah. So let's look at the last one in
Uh,
this section, variant.
So can
Okay.
we put this on competition because the competition dynamics has changed? That's the reason we are also changing.
Yeah, in the sense there could be market changes, and there, I mean, there could be your strategy has changed, and it could happen within 2 to 3 years. Things can change dramatically, right? Uh, and you need to adapt to that, and there might be many reasons why this happened. Yeah. Now, this particular question is saying here is an extract from the corporate governance report on executive director's stock option. I'm no accountant, but I think that the sale of all the hardware that we previously needed for the data center is bound to improve our return on capital employed ratio. Could you check the logic and give me your thoughts? I realize that you will not be able to calculate the actual numbers, but I think that we need to be ready for shareholders' reaction. That leads on to the delicate question of whether a better return on capital employed will make the director's executive stock option worth more from now on. Can you have a look at the extract and write me a briefing note? This is a very good question actually. Extract from the corporate governance report. ABC Solution has a long-term incentive plan in place to align executive directors' interest with those of the shareholders. This includes a grant of executive share option to all executive directors. The number of options granted is decided annually by ABC Solutions Remuneration Committee. Each tranche of options has a strike price, that is, out of money, when the shares are first granted and the options do not vest for 3 years. Executive share options must be exercised on a specific vesting date, otherwise they lapse. Options also lapse if their holders leave ABC's employment for any reason during the vesting period. Okay, so let me give you 5 to 10 minutes for you to think about it, and if you can look at this question in your Dropbox. So let us go into the answer and see what they talk about. Okay. So the answer to this question, we need to start with a simple fact that ROC is a return divided by capital employed, right? And selling the hardware at book value would simply replace the asset of plant and equipment with the asset of cash. if we use that cash to pay the dividends or repay a loan, then capital employed will be reduced, so the ROCE will increase. Right? If we sell the hardware at a gain or loss, then there will be a further impact beyond the availability of cash to reduce the capital employed. In the year of disposal, there will be a gain or loss that will affect the reported profit. Return will increase or decrease accordingly. That will lead to a persistent change in equity, right? Now, with all this, okay, now they're talking about the ROCE here in the first part. Then they talk about the stock option. So the value of options is based on the share price, which changes as expectations of the future cash flows change. ROCE is not in itself a measure of cash flow. Although the increase could make the shareholders a little more optimistic, and so the share price could increase. Right? The shares might not change in value if the capital markets are predicted this move. Right? So then they're talking about the share price and the ROCE as well. The higher ROCE could encourage the company to grant more options in spirit of a performance-related bonus. This is a very interesting question because it can go into ethics as well. You know, the ROC as well as the stock options. How they will look into this. You guys are very silent. So here what we are looking at is basically the return on capital employed. They've spoken about the what the ROC is, how it will behave in this case, right? And what they're saying is, well, if you sell the assets and if it's in the cash, right, it's one thing, but actually if you utilize the cash to do something else, right, then obviously your capital employed is reduced. And
Yes.
and one of you mentioned about the depreciation as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So the denominator is far more difficult to predict because there will be offsetting adjustments. So I think that's what you guys were saying. There will be certain things that will offset. Yeah.
Exactly. That's the thing I was actually mentioning.
Yeah. Yeah.
So even they haven't answered that clearly.
Correct. So the ROCE is any of these ratios to that matter, right, is quite subjective, right? If you look at the ratios in general, it is very subjective. It is an interpretation, correct?
Yes.
So what you can only do is to kind of give different justifications, and they themselves have it's difficult for them to give an exact answer, because you can't give an exact answer, right? But even in the stock options, they're giving some indications, the things that can happen. And of course, if you have a good ROC, the shareholders will be happy about it. Your share price will go up because you're thinking in the future, it is, future value of your company is high, right? And the share might not change if the if the capital markets had predicted this move, of course, right? Because if all the information is available in the market, it doesn't move, it will not move, because already it has been already it's in the share price.
Even the optimistic stuff's also fine, because I feel if Rose goes up, people might feel that it's giving better returns. If someone has not predicted that, he will try to buy it,
Correct.
considering it has a better.
Yeah. So let us go into a couple of more, another variant. 1 second. Let us go into a variant in the 2016, February 2016, right? I'm going into the variant. Let me not give you something very technical. You had enough technical questions.
Anju, you will cover only variants today, right?
Sorry?
You will only cover, we will go through different variant.
I'm going through different variants, but I also told you I want to go through some of the stuff that I had already put forward, right?
Okay.
Oh,
So how long the today's class will continue?
Do you have to leave
I
early?
might not be. Yes, I might not be. I do have some other stuff as well. So I
Right.
might have to leave a bit early.
Okay, what time do you want to leave?
In 20 minutes.
Okay.
Well, I can listen to you through my cell phone, but I mean, I might not be able to answer you.
Right. Okay. So, a couple of things I want to show you now is, if you look at this in this is variant 1 in February. Okay, again they're asking about value chain analysis. Firstly, what would a value chain analysis involve in the case of Pizza Time, and how might we involve our staff more in creating value? Secondly, the CEO is unsure whether we should focus our value chain analysis in a low cost strategy or a differentiation strategy. Right? So two different strategies. They're saying, how can I apply value chain in a low cost or a differentiation strategy? Right? If I take that sentence, the second sentence, how would you answer that?
We have to choose any one of them and just give
So
our
what you would do
support.
is look at what is a low cost strategy, what does a low cost strategy mean, and what is a differentiation strategy mean, and then how each of your primary and support activities can contribute towards that chosen strategy, right? That's what you're looking at. Because how, if I'm coming up with a how can I differentiate my operations, my inbound, outbound marketing to suit that strategy, right? And if I'm looking at a low cost strategy, then I'm looking at all of these in a completely different way. How can I reduce cost? How can I reduce cost? And I'm only focusing on my cost here, right? The cost factor. So everything possible I'm looking at from a cost angle and seeing how can I reduce the cost in all of these primary and support activities, right? So that's one of the key things here. So any comments there?
Well, we should focus on the differentiation strategy. Reason being, we are into food business, and people don't mind spending on food.
No,
So
dear.
if
So,
we,
what they're asking here is don't get off track. What they were asking is how can the value chain, right, help in the differentiation and cost strategies? That was the question.
Well,
Yeah.
Anju, there's two questions actually.
Yes, there were two
I
there. There were two. There were two. You're right. Okay. I only picked up one
first
of
thing
them.
about first thing about how we can incorporate that value chain,
Correct.
considering how the third party can add value
Yes.
to our value chain.
Yes.
And the second thing is considering the our value chain analysis, that whether what
We should
strategy we should take.
focus our value chain analysis in a low cost strategy or a differentiation. So, which way? So, one thing you have to say what low cost and you have to say what differentiation, right? And then you can choose either.
Yes, true. First, we have to deal with the value chain.
Yes. Yes. Okay. I just want to make this larger so that you can see it. Right. I need you to email your thoughts on the following. How can we organize our supply chain better to prevent a recurrence? How can we address the inevitable claim that we have acted unethically and against public interest? What are the accounting issues associated with determining the need for a provision in the financial statements? Right? 3 things, and it is related to supply chain. Right? So basically, one thing is linked to your accounting, the financial statements, one thing related to ethics, and the other one linked to your supply chain. Right? Do you
True.
think, yeah, go on.
No, you continue.
So what has happened,
Anju?
I have attached a transcript of documentary on food hygiene that was broadcast last night. The broadcaster did not seek our response, and so we were unaware of it until it was broadcasted. We have only had a few hours to investigate, but the basic story appears to be true. The manager in charge of the factory has interviewed the supervisor who was filmed, and it appears that the main flour supplier is guilty of shipping goods that are almost at or even slightly beyond their use by dates. We operate on just-in-time basis, and so our factory would have to suspend production anything up to 24 hours if shipment was rejected. So this is in supply, I mean food. But do you think this will something similar can get something similar related to our IC opticals can happen?
Yes, true, definitely. Anju, I have gone through this case. Actually, I
Right.
studied that, so I know that what
Yeah.
actually happened to me at that time. Well,
Right.
that's why I always refer that. What if we get a government claim or some customers claim that we couldn't provide them proper prescribed thing, and it got their eye got damaged,
Yes.
and how we are going to settle the issue?
Mm. Mm.
This kind of question can come.
Yes. Yeah, it could, because we're dealing with people and public, isn't it? And it's and health issues, isn't it? So it's
Yes,
yeah. So then that is part of our risks. Then it comes to ethical issues as well. And if a third party is involved in something like this, how would we respond? Right? Again, we have PR there, so public relations to manage as well. So that's something we need to act upon quite quickly, right, and deal with it. What I want to do now is the remaining few minutes. I want to very quickly go through some other areas that I have, the slides that I have put across. Okay. Are there any questions?
No.
So what I would, yeah,
I would like to ask one question. Like, if we get a claim from government,
yes,
but and the government decided that we are not going to pay you, and we are in the verge of banning you from operation.
mm-hmm.
Okay. So in that case, what we as a company can do?
So that
And
means,
what
yeah, so that means your license to operate is compromised, correct?
Yes, exactly.
Right.
So
So
how to actually
what was the root
convince
cause?
government?
Right. What is the root cause? We don't know what is the root cause in this case, right? So let's say if we
Okay.
know the root cause, sorry.
No, okay, then, carry on.
So if we know the root cause, maybe it was due to one of our suppliers, right? Maybe it is due to our own processes, or some of the things one of our employees have done, right? I think we'll have to come clean with it immediately, and we have to say, well, how are we going to, now who has got impacted due to this? Okay, what are we going to do about it, right? How are we going to act on this in the future? I mean, these things, how are we going to manage something like this, and to ensure that something like this will never happen, right? So I think, and then you need to have a very clear communication plan again to the government. You'll need to lobby with the government, and also your other parties, your suppliers. They will need to work with you, your customers need to work with you to lobby for you. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I mean, it's somewhat like what happened to Volkswagen, correct?
Exactly.
Right. I mean, they have done. Who has done it? One of their own employees, right? But then they have to take the top guys have to take responsibility, and they have to come clean and say what they're going to do about it. And it's the government, and especially if the company is offering, there's so many they offer employment to so many people, and there is very genuine case of something's happened where the people, either the supplier or an employee in the company, or a group of employees, because of them something has happened, and you are genuinely accepted this and said this is what we're going to be doing. Well, they may give you a chance to operate, right? Because you're trying your best. Yeah.
Even acknowledging the fact and giving compensation to the affected people can also reduce some kind of harm as well.
Correct, because I mean, you need to acknowledge that, and that's one of the key things, right? If you don't acknowledge the fact, it's not really good, because that shows that you really have not, you don't accept it. Yeah.
Even Pizza Hut had complained in China.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. So just give me 1 minute. I'm opening this. What has happened? 1 second. Right, yeah. I think most of it we have gone through, but I'll just give you a refresher. Basically, we spoke about the history. So it started quite some time ago, and modern day, where are we now? And there's a lot of technology being used. So it may be the technology is used to such an extent we may start reducing the number of people who are in the stores, right? And we might be able to do away without them. Another part of it is the fashion side of it, right? We said that is playing a predominant role as well. Currently, the process of manufacture and sales are separated. We've said high-tech polymers are used in both lenses and frames, and the regulations and need for high specification. All this is, it is very, and also the thing is, when it comes to manufacturing, there is a lot of environmental factors to be considered because it's not the most environmentally friendly product. The growth of this industry is fantastic, huge growth. So there is a lot of opportunity for us to grow, but we can see we are only in one country so far. We've not thought of moving out. Then industry breakdown. What sort of does it break down? We look at tests, the lens production, frame production, sales, distribution, and advertising side of it. So if we're looking at the growth, how would we look at the growth for IC Opticals from an Ansoff matrix perspective? Should we expand overseas? And what about within the market itself? Should we grow in the existing market? What strategies should we follow? One thing that we saw was, we should do a sales breakup and also look at online distribution. What areas should we consider? We should have a look at that. When we looked at the products, this is how the products looked like. In one of the key things that we see is the glasses are actually there in all three sectors. So that's a good sign, and this is something that's gonna grow. And this is where the material use comes to play. What type of material that's been used? Are we in a position to kind of change the material as well? We may come to a point in time where in the future the material used may change, right? Making the product more environmentally friendly. And also because of the type of material that's used, it has an exposure to commodity market, right? That's something. Value chain definitely is playing a part in our industry as well as new technology. Transportation plays a vital role. We looked at branding. We did questions where we said, when we are choosing partners, whether it is celebrities or if we are using others to work with us, right? Maybe co-brand or co-advertise with our product. We have to ensure their values are the same as ours, right? This is a very, very important aspect to consider. Production, supply, and distribution. How are we going to do that? Well, the customer feedback. Can we offer loyalty cards? We are looking at, again, in this case, I will use a lot of technology to improve. So I can look at the concept of big data and using big data as well to see, where can we add value in which space, as well as eliminate non-value adding activities. So who are our key suppliers? The lens suppliers, frames, they make their own. It doesn't say clearly whether they have their own designers, right? We can also look at backward integration, but we need to look at the cost associated with it. So there's a lot of scope when it comes to e-commerce. I think we spoke quite a bit on this. Technology used to diagnose eye conditions have not changed too much for the past 10 to 15 years. So there might be something new coming up in the industry where they will revolutionize this area. Okay, so it might be a heavy investment in this case, or again we look at sunk cost of all the materials, all the machinery that's there in our stores. Franchising model, something we can really look at. A lot of the companies, they have franchising models, partnership models, joint ventures. We immediately get access to markets, capital, low risk, right? So it is a very good way of working. Well, staff becomes very important. They create the differentiation as well from competitors. What kind of great value can we add in this area? Look at this. Online distributors only hold 3% of the market for all optical goods in the UK. It's an amazing opportunity, right? Amazing opportunity that's there. So you can see few companies hold majority of market share. That's Specsavers, Boots, Vision Express, right? So there is a little bit of a story about Specsavers. They have had a year-on-year growth, works with joint venture partnerships. That's their strategy.
Anju, can I?
Yeah, sure.
Anju, I'm leaving from now on. I can't actually speak to you. I can just only listen to you.
Okay,
So
all right.
good luck to you, and thanks, and also good luck for Puneet and others.
Thanks, Ziad.
Good luck,
Okay.
Ziad. Thanks for joining us, and I'm sure you'll do well. Thank you.
Okay. Bye bye.
Yeah, bye.
I'm listening to you.
Okay, fine, right. So Specsavers is a partnership, saying 2,000 locally run businesses. So you can see that they contribute to the community in a different way, as in they become owners, right? Just not employees. They become owners, and they put in a lot more rigor into they're managing the stores. A good kind of model that we in IC Opticals can adapt as well. Okay. Then we speak a little bit more on franchising model. We could actually start, what we're saying is start with one and see the profitability and see how it goes, right? Because it is something very common, this franchising model. Online glass direct, so new competitors in the market, and they only looked at distributing online, and we have not even gone online, I think, IC Opticals. So there is a big opportunity there for us. Maybe even partner with some of these guys and work with them, right? And gain that access to knowledge immediately. So it's a possibility. And this is a little bit about Glasses Direct, when they started and how they started, which is quite interesting. There is a lot that you can do in the CSR and sustainability side of things. If you look at Specsavers, they do enormous amount of stuff in the CSR, and of course you can do recycling, community programs, eye health education programs, provides glasses for low income earners, because it's eyesight, at the end of the day, and it is so vital for a human being. So whatever contribution that a company can do in this regards, will be taken very positively. And you can, if the company is in a developed world, they can do a lot of things in developing worlds as well, a lot of positive things. So that's something they could, I see opticals can work at. Then I've highlighted some risks. There could be legal and political risks taking place that we need to be aware of. Changes to policies, rules, regulations, compliances, and be aware of, how can we keep our license to operate. It's very, very important. Finance, expensive equipment required to start up the business. Debt to equity funding should be evaluated. Growth strategies funding to be considered as well, because how am I going to fund this growth strategy? We need to have, when we are looking for funding, we need to match our funding and the opportunities as well. If it's a short-term thing, we need to match it with a short-term funding. If it's a long-term investment, then we can go in for something like equity, which is a long-term as well. Yeah. Any questions so far, Puneet?
No.
Yeah. Customer service, again, very, very important to us, because this is a key factor where we can differentiate, and I think earlier on in the classes, some of the classes, you guys mentioned, we get quite a lot of older people, and they're looking for this customer service in particular. It's very important. The younger ones might go in for the online, but still even online you need that customer service more so. You can't just think, somebody will come in and just buy the stuff online and get in the shopping cart and go, but there has to be some very interactive sessions with your customers. When they come online, there has to be somebody who might be helping, as in a form of a chat, asking, you've just come in, can I help you? Do you need any help with looking for styles or any particular prescriptive glasses, right? It's important to show that differentiation. Well, that's for this section. Let me see if there's any others that I want to share with you. I had highlighted the top issues as well. So let me share with you. Right. So what are some of the, this is kind of very generic, Puneet and Ziad, because funding, any business you need to fund, right? Either funding could be debt or equity. Then we need to look at, for what would you be funding? Purchase machinery, and is it a long-term investment? You need to look at what is your cost of capital, right? And kind of the dividend policy as well, because when you're funding, you may have to stop dividend or reduce your dividend in order to manage your funds, right? So that is a bit of a question mark. So you need to look at your dividend policy. What is the current status? So what is our current cash flow? How does it look like? Do we have sufficient to fund investments? It's a listed company. We have a debt of about 25%. Reasonable level of assets and balance sheet. So we can use equity is used for large investments, right? That's what we were saying, matching concept. Well, management and staff, you could have issues here, quality and the training of them. What if some key staff members leave key management positions? When they leave, it kind of creates a void, and sometimes it impacts even the share price, right? Because the share price, why does it impact? I mean, how does somebody leaving impact the share price? Because the shareholders may think in the future the company is not going to be doing pretty well because one of the key players have left. There could be unions issues as well as strikes. The importance of staff, I mean, we saw that nearly 40% of the costs are associated with staff, right? Staff are the ones who can create that key differentiator, right? We could also have specialist staff to carry out R&D, and the market confidence could be low if your staff churn rates are quite high, right? We need to build a strong culture and increase customer service. Because why am I talking about culture? Because if the employees are not happy and they don't have a very good culture, they will not be able to provide customers a good service. So then these are some of the theories which are there: Mandela's matrix, motivation theories, right? Risk, we need to look at what are the key risks, how should we manage the risk, then we can do it with the TARA model, and how can we control the risks, right? What are some of the risks that we've got? Aging population, limited number of suppliers, lack of new products. We've got lots of competition, right? And a risk of a particular project or initiative can happen as well. And how can you manage? We can have a COSO model. Again, this is kind of a framework that can be used. TARA model and the risk committee, which can advise you, guide you, right? What about our environment and competitors, right? It's very competitive. How can external environmental changes impact IC Opticals, right? We can do this environmental competitor analysis as well. We can look at what are the substitutes that we've got, do a SWOT analysis, right? Basically scanning the environment, right, and looking at what are the risks that can be there and how can we mitigate them. When we are looking at growth, we should also need to consider, okay, the PESTEL factors, 5 forces, Porter's diamond model, Mandela's matrix. If investment, then we need to look at the SAFES model as well. Governance will play a big role. We know there's not enough NEDs, so also we are a listed company. Then we need to have good governance, and no mention of a remuneration committee. Now that plays a significant role. My issue is the chairman independent, because that's something that is very important. What sort of supply issues can we have? Right, and we said my suppliers can be very high power suppliers, so sourcing a new supplier can be difficult. Suppliers closing down, quality controls, credit controls, right? These are big issues that can cause a huge disruption in our operations. How can we manage them? You should have kind of a strategic supply management, when we are working with these guys, because we need to work with them in a partnership manner and not just a transactional basis. We need to look at the contract terms, new terms in contracts, negotiate every time, review the contracts. And also, of course, what I've not mentioned here is a supplier code of conduct that needs to be there, especially in terms of sustainability. And also, of course, supply value chain has to link with ours, right? If a new project comes through, what are we going to look at? SAFES model, first thing. stakeholder ANSEF matrix. How are we going to fund it? What is the NPV? Critique the NPV, critique the figures that have been represented there, because sometimes the figures, garbage in, garbage out. So what is there may not be the correct thing. Cash flows has inherent problems as well, but these are all forecasted cash flows as well, right? And change management is another area that you need to look at. We said before as well, ethics and CSR will play a massive role, and especially because of the kind of industry that we are in, we have the opportunity to actually explore as well. E-commerce, great opportunity for us because we've not gone into this. So this can open up a different dimension altogether for us. However, we need to ask how ready are we from an organizational perspective, and also do we have the necessary skill set to work in this e-commerce space, or we need to get new skill sets, right? Franchising, we spoke, it's a good opportunity for us, a quick way of achieving growth, and also being able to get funding. This is another really good way of getting funding. Okay, so this is a question, and that's all from me. Any other questions, Puneet?
Not as such. Can you just brief me what exactly the relevance of NPV is?
Right. NPV, the relevance. Now let us see. Okay, let us take this, right? This question. Now they have taken a discounting factor of 14%. I can critique that, right? They could say that 14% is the discount weighted average cost of capital of the company, right? But when I'm critiquing it, I could say, well, that weighted average cost of capital might be for the company, but in this particular project, because the cost is pretty high, the risk is pretty high, I would say 14% is not sufficient. It should be higher than that. Puneet, you'll have to mute your...
Okay,
right? So then we'll have to critique it in that sense. Then also looking at, you can say option 1 is provide the code for a tailor-made application for IC opticals, right? So if it's a tailor-made application, this is what they're saying. IT staff need to be recruited for that. Option 2, purchase an off-the-shelf package. Now, look at IT staff, right? In this case, 500. But in this case, it's 400. Doesn't make sense because you need to recruit more people. And still, you have not, it's even less than in the option 2. So that in itself says the figures may not be correct, right? So your discount, the NPV, is as good as the figures that you put in here, right? And on top of it, these are all forecasted figures, right? It will help us and provide a guidance, a guide to a particular investment, but we should certainly not rely on this 100%, because that's really not giving you a good view, right? It's not by doing an NPV, and it will not give you the correct answer, because we're just looking at it from a financial aspect. Does that answer your question? Yeah.
And another question regarding that investment in a celebrity.
Yes.
Now, how do we justify it? For example, our budget for investment is 1 million, and the celebrity quotation is, let's say, 3 million, and there's no scope for negotiation. So, do we look forward to alternative partners so that they can come and contribute to us, or how should we manage this? Or should we invest like this or not?
The thing is,
Because
we
their
need
value are
to,
based on their
yeah,
comments.
yeah. What we need to do is to provide options, and generally that's what the examiner is looking for as well. You know, what options are there? If there is a celebrity, you know, can we, and you know, is there a possibility of you know, having multiple revenue streams with this celebrity rather than just one way of revenue that we thought existed, right? So let's say, for example, in we would have thought only this person to be included in some of our advertisements, but maybe we include him in some of the merchandise, right? So things like that, you know, look at other revenue streams as well. We say, right, okay, if you want a fee like this is the way we want to we can give you that fee, but these are some other ways that we can also change our contract, you know.
And would it be okay to recommend another celebrity as well?
Yeah, it's the thing is, you might be choosing a celebrity, one particular person for a reason, and also it's nothing to say that you can't recommend, right? However, you're going for one person, maybe in advanced stages of negotiation because of a certain value that they bring in, or certain brand value that they've got, and you want to be associated with that brand value.
Okay.
Any other questions? So when is your
No.
exam?
Tomorrow.
Okay,